What's up, Flip Factor family? This is Michael Green with the Flip Factor podcast, the number one podcast dedicated to teaching you how to find and win high profit flips and manage contractors so you can make more money and work a lot less hours and have plenty of time to do whatever the F you want. Today, I got my guest on, Delante Desouza. He has some cool questions around construction, ready to jump right in. Delante, welcome, man.
Thanks for having me, man. I feel comfortable here.
You're here all the time.
It's like I live here now.
Well, it's kind of like you're a squatter.
Well, yeah, that actually.
Like the kid, very relevant. I mean, he came on the show. We couldn't get rid of him. And it's like, he has squatters' rights now. I don't have the legal team to get rid of him. So I was like, let's just go with it.
Yeah, let's just make some more podcast episodes.
Let's just do more. Like, let's share some more great content until you're not doing that anymore. And then you'll see the sheriffs coming in to remove you and your stuff. So make sure you bring it today, man. That the audience expects a lot. The Flip Factor family is tuned in and listening. They are not accepting anything other than high quality content.
Oh, nothing less than greatness. Let's do it.
That's it, man. So you've got some questions about how to find great contractors and pay them, right? Exact amounts that we pay contractors and how to figure that out.
I think a lot of times with the new investors that I've seen on like our Facebook group and stuff like that, they have this wildly varying systems for how they pay their contractors. Some of them do deposits, some of them do like percentages of the deals that they do. So I guess we're just here to really figure out what is the right way to do this. Like, how do we pay our contractors correctly?
Yeah, how do we pay them and how much do we pay them, right? I think that's kind of the main thing is like what is the exact amount we're going to pay them? And then obviously just really quickly, and I think we're doing an episode on exactly how to pay them, but I'll just give you quick advice on that. Don't give them any money up front. Take control. And the first step to doing that is understanding what you should pay them. Because see, when we bring them in as trusted advisors and we call up a contractor because we don't know, and we're like, hey, contractor, I don't know what to do here. How much should it cost? How much material do I need? We start asking all those questions. We're empowering them to take control of our business. I wish that, we could just get some awesome people that would just always look to drive prices down. But contractors have a different agenda than we do. Their agenda is to make the most money and ours is to spend the least amount of money so we can actually make profit because we're investing a lot of capital and we're taking a lot of risk as house flippers. So obviously we got to make a profit and a return on that. So the big thing you want to start with is understanding exactly how to pay your contractors. And when we say how, it's how much really, right? It's not just how, because we know how to pay them. But as soon as you know what you should pay and how do we figure that out? Well, we use something called standardized pricing. Now, when you understand that there's a standardized unit price for everything that gets done, that you can take basically in a house, you can walk through it, you can spend a couple hours putting a detailed list of like, I've measured and I have 600 square foot of flooring, I have 280 square foot of tile, 300 linear foot of trim. I got 9 doors I need to install. I got 18 square of roof, right? You can know all that. And now instead of you calling and asking them, you can start calling and telling them. And this is how we roll, right? We take and use our contractor funnel to funnel people out, to weed them. But we're going very specific because we know they start looking at us very differently. See, now we can attract people who think more subcontractor. And the reason we love subcontractors is because subcontractors, well, they don't give estimates. Subcontractors don't go out and give advice. Subcontractors, you call them, you tell them what to do. They work at a very affordable price because they're efficient and they come in and knock the work out for you quick and for a great price. Because see, they're not decision makers. You call them and say, hey, Delante, I got 350 square foot of floor to do. It's all ready to go for you. It's a living room, dining room, kitchen. When can you do it? And they'll be like, I'll be there on Tuesday. I'll be done by Wednesday. Bam. And that's $1.50 a square foot to do that hardwood. Versus if you call a contractor, what are they going to do? Well, yeah, meet me at the house. I'll do an estimate. They get out there and like, this floor's a little lumpy. It's going to be a little bit hard. It's going to be this, going to be that. Yeah, it'd be $4 a foot to do that. And you're like, well, why so much? And the reason why is because they have a lot of expense, right? They have a nice looking truck. They got polos. They got all these different insurances, different, marketing they have to do. They might have office secretaries. They might just have overhead essentially. So they're charging a lot more so they can make a profit. We don't really care if they have all those things as house flippers. We really just care that they have a vehicle, they have tools, and they have the knowledge and ability to get going. Often they're not fast either because as a general contractor, well, think of what the word even says, general, right? They're not specialized. General contractors, they have to come in and know how to do a lot of things, but they don't have to know how to do things efficiently. Now, subcontractors, where they're very different, they generally specialize. Before I got into house flipping, I was a subcontractor as a hardwood flooring installer. So I just did hardwood floors. That was it. Nothing else. Over the years, I learned how to do tile, but, I wasn't very good at it because I hadn't done it for many years. But if you called me to do flooring, I could do 400 square foot and I'd be in and out of there in a day. And I'd charge $1.50 a foot and I'd make pretty good money. That'd be, $600 for a day. I'd be real happy about that. Especially, since I grew up broke and had no money, it was like quite a bit. I was making $300 a week before I got into making $600 a day. So I was very excited to make that kind of money. And there's a lot of people like that where they just come in, they're very efficient, they're fast. But what I learned as a subcontractor myself was that if I wasn't fast, I wouldn't make money. So there was times when I was new as a subcontractor where I was making $200 a day. And then eventually I realized, if I want to raise, they're not going to change the price they pay me, right? Because they can pay that to anyone. They got people lining up to be paid that price or faster. What did it make me do? It made me adjust my speed so that I could get better. So the secret to when we're paying someone and how we pay them is we have to go through having standardized pricing, know exactly what units cost, measurement. So everything's really simple now. Like I pay $1.50 to do flooring. We take $20 a sheet to hang and finish sheetrock, $100 to install a window, $40 to install a door, roofing, $100 a square to install roofing for a layover. We start knowing all the different pricing, and that could be different whatever market you're in. The key is being able to take and create what we call a standardized price matrix, and that matrix has the complete understanding of like what it costs to do anything in your market, so that way you can start taking control of everything and just be completely empowered. It's like pretty awesome feeling. I know I went crazy because I'm passionate about it, right? I know that it's the secret sauce to being like great at house flipping and having complete control over your business.
So Mike, I guess my next question then is, how did you create those prices? Like, how did you know it should cost like $40 to hang a door? Or how did you know like it should cost $100 to install a window? Because there's no house flipping like association that says like pay
the
this
House
much
Flipping
for
Association of America says that, that's all I'm paying. So, I mean, that's a really great question. It took me years to figure it out. And that's why I created the standardized price matrix. It's all part of what we teach in the program. We customize them. The big thing about our mastermind, like a little plug for our mastermind, if anyone wants to learn how to do this, me and Delante teach, and we help you build all this out. But one of the reasons all of our students have so much success is we actually build this stuff out for them. Like they can use ours, but let's say ours isn't a perfect fit for whatever reason. Maybe they're in a different market. Things are a little bit different. We make sure everything's customized and for them and it works for them. When you have that standardized price sheet, then you know what to do. And how did I create it? Basically what I did over years is I studied and talked to all the subcontractors and asked them, what are they being paid by like contractors, home builders, different storefronts they would work for. It's like a flooring guy, they're going to work for Mr. Carpet or some, next day floors or something. Well, there's pretty standardized subcontracting pricing that all those companies will pay. It's not like Mr. Carpet is going to pay $4 a foot and then next day floors pays $2. It's generally they both probably pay around $2, maybe one pays $2.10 or something to be competitive. Home Depot will have standardized pricing for their people. So you can actually study what Home Depot pays their subcontractors, what any big builder pays their subcontractor. And the reason you want to know this pricing is because there's a really good chance that if you have other flippers in your market, that they've figured out that kind of pricing and gotten down to the cheapest price over time. So the big thing we want to discover and understand is, what is the average flipper paying? Now, if the average flipper is paying $100 a window, we lose a competitive edge if we start paying $125, right? So people think I'm like, Mike, are you just cheap? I hear this sometimes. Like, why are you so cheap? Dude, I'm not cheap by any means. I wish I could pay $5,000 a window and make profit. The reality is if I pay $125, what happens is that starts to create a really unhealthy business for me, meaning that it takes me $90K to do a renovation that my competitor is doing for $70. Well, guess what that means? I got to offer $20K less. And I have to tell you, if you're offering $20K less on your deals right now, it's probably the reason most people are struggling to get deals. Me and Delante and all of our students, like we get deals on demand, but it's because we're able to keep our costs down across the board on our financing, on our title work, on how much we pay our contractors, how much we pay our realtors. We nibble everything down just a little bit. Not everyone's still making good living, but we got to make sure if we cut that cost across the board, then we can be very competitive, because know that our competitors have probably already done that. So last thing we want to do is pay like a lot more for work that other people aren't paying for, right? So how do you know? This is how we create it. We just did a lot of studying through like, what is the standardized price? And you'd be surprised, like that standardized price. One thing that a lot of people have told me, they're like, well, of course it's that much in Baltimore, right? You guys have the wire, you have the rats and, all the crazy shit. But the thing is that I have students in California that are paying almost the same price, like teeny bit more, maybe instead of $1.50, you're paying $1.70, but it's not like they're paying $4. It's just a slight difference, believe it or not. So subcontracting pricing is actually very universal throughout the country, even in Canada, by the way. We have a couple students in Canada, and honestly, it's exactly the same there, just about. Minus the fact that the dollar's different. You convert the dollar, it's the same just about. It really stems off a cost of living. Does that make sense? Like if you're in California and you're in an area like Sacramento, I have a student, his average rehab is going to be like a 250 to 350 ARV. Well, that's what we're doing here. It's like 250 to 350. So there's no big difference. But if we had a rehabber that was in LA and he's selling 1,000,005 properties, well, then his standardized pricing would have to change because he'd need higher quality work. He would be, doing stuff that would be way higher end. However, the most of the people we teach are not doing $1.5 million homes. We're teaching people who are doing first time home buyer stuff. So the standardized pricing really travels well. But you do have to build it out. And, it's one of the cool things we do. It does take a lot of time to build it out. But when we get it right, you can use this tool just to makes your life amazing.
With that being said, what do you do in situations? You mentioned like people say like, oh, Mike, you're cheap on these prices.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you do if you have a contractor that comes to you and says, your pricing's too low for me? Like, I can't work for these prices. Because I've seen situations where contractors will agree to a price, and then once they do the work or they get like halfway into the work, they're like, man, you're not paying me enough to do this. Like,
yeah.
So how do you handle that?
I mean, that comes up sometimes. We've seen it a few times, and obviously we handle it. And the fact that they should know how to run their business, right? It should be up to them to know how long it takes them to do something. So I always just try to educate them and like, hey, I didn't invent this price, and there's other people who work at this price. It's a standardized price. Do you think we could really look at what you're doing or how you're doing the work to see if there's any efficiencies we could create that would help you get it done sooner? Because everything really is just about manpower. Like if it takes somebody 3 days with 3 guys to do something, it's going to cost more than if it takes 3 guys for 2 days. So sometimes when people know how to do things more efficiently, and I'll give you a story of a student Nick used in my higher level group. She hired someone using our funnel. She got someone to paint a whole house for $2K, which is pretty reasonable. It was like 1,500 square foot house. The person came in, they were like, yeah, I'll do it for $2K. They went on to proceed to roll the walls. Now Nikki's a student, so she knows like if they roll the walls, it's going to take a lot longer. So she mentioned to them like, hey, do you use a sprayer? Would you consider using a sprayer? She even had a sprayer she could lend them that she had used when she had done the house before herself, and they didn't want it. They just wanted to roll. So 5 days later, this should have been 3 guys for 3 days. And now instead it took 5 days. So see, 3 guys for 5 days, they can't make any money. And it really came down to their lack of willingness. So she did everything she could, but this just ended up being a bad situation for them where they didn't make a lot of money. They obviously won't work with us anymore or work with her because they didn't make a lot of money. And the key to the story is she didn't end up having to pay a bunch of money because of their inefficiencies. So if a contractor comes in and says they can do something in 3 days and it takes them 5, remember that's not our fault. Remember, like it is their business to know how long it takes them to do a job that they say they're a professional at. Like I can absolutely tell you every single job, how long it would take me to do. And I'm not even that well versed at most of the stuff. I've only done most things, a few times just to see how it is and kind of get an understanding of the work so that I could teach it and learn it and understand it in order to optimize it. But what I have paid attention to is like, if there's guys that come in and paint my houses in 2.5 days, well, I'm watching them. And I'm watching how they do it. And then I take notes of it. And if I take notes of that, I can share it with the person who's taking 5 days. And then if they're willing to listen, I might be able to show them how to work within our system so they can make money. Because see, the benefit of when they work in our system, a lot of people, why would they not just go get higher paying clients? Well, look, it costs you a lot of marketing and a lot of doing estimates in the evening, and you got to have all these fancy vehicles and expenses, and you have to have a secretary who's going to write estimates and all that. You have to have a lot of expense to go get people who are paying like top dollar for work. When they work with us, they don't even have to come do estimates. I just call and say, hey, man, we got 300 foot of this, or I got 19 windows to do. When are you available? I put them on the schedule. They show up and, hey, can you pick the windows up at Home Depot or 84 Lumber, wherever we bought them from? They're like, sure, done, right? It's just super efficient, right to the point. They know exactly what we want. We don't overdo anything. We do everything up to quality we know it needs to get done, but we don't overdo or make anything inefficient. When they get in that situation, Dante, kind of to summarize it, we just hopefully we can coach them into doing it the right way. Doesn't always work. Sometimes it just isn't perfect. But the key is if we're going to have a bad experience where someone's unhappy, it is nicer for that person to be the contractor, not us. Right. I mean, I'm pretty tired of being unhappy. I have to tell you, I spent a lot of years me being the one that paid for the fact that they were not good at something. I don't think that's fair. Do you?
No, I don't think it's fair either. You mentioned this before. You said to kind of sanity check yourself to see like, the right amounts to say, for this job, how much should they be getting paid per hour? How many hours does this take? All right, well, let's multiply those two and see how much the price should be. So like if they're like doing demo or something, I don't know, let's just say it's 10 to 15 bucks an hour. You multiply that by 2 days, so let's say 16 hours, and then you have an amount that you should pay them. Is that something that you still do to kind of help out newer students and stuff to kind of make sure their prices are in check?
I do whenever it's more of a custom job. See, the thing on a standardized price list, we have about 50 different items. It covers like 90% of what you're going to do in a flip. There's 10% that falls in that crack. It's more customized. So maybe we have a deck and, we know exactly what it costs to build a deck on the back of the house, but what if we just need to repair that deck? That might come into a customized price. So there's no real way to standardize. How do I fix 6 boards on a deck? That starts to come into like, okay, a carpenter in our area makes about $25 an hour. This is 4 hours worth of work. We can give them 100 to 150 bucks and we're all good, right? Because they're going to, if they come spend a couple hours and make 150 bucks, they're going to be happy. It's more than $25 an hour even. They're very excited when people are like looking to make 25, $30 an hour and you show them how to make 40 or 50 an hour by being more efficient. They're lifetime customers of yours. They're like, oh, Delante, when do you have more work? But the key is they got to be able to get it done quick. So the funnel actually stops us from being in a situation where we have people who can't get done efficiently, because part of our interviewing process that we teach our students is how to determine when you're on the phone and you're looking at the funnel and you're looking at the applications, how do we determine whether someone's likely going to be a fit or not? And if they're not going to be a fit, we want to figure that out before we spend a lot of time, because if we have a lot of pain around working with contractors, then we tend to get burnt out very quick with it. And then we want to lean towards hiring a GC, project manager, something, the grass is always greener, the great savior that's going to come in, oh, this magic wand's going to save our business, because we're so stressed out because we're doing things ourselves inefficiently. So like we have to be efficient in our process of hiring, and the contractors have to be efficient in their ability to get the work done. And when our efficient process meets an efficient contractor, it's like a really long-term relationship. Like the two, people have been married for 50 years. That's me and my contractors. I've had a lot of contractors for quite a while now because we've used this exact process. And if any of them decide they want to move on, maybe they want to go work for hiring homeowners, or they're moving or retiring, anything, we can easily put new people in their place that are just waiting for the opportunity.
I think that's very concise, and I think it covers the question.
I'm glad we always try to go extra far, right, and get deep into the weeds. And you did deliver value, Delante. I'm going to give you a high five on there. You gave it to them, man. Good job. It's there. I don't think they're going to complain, but if they do, Flip Factor family, please take it easier on us. Delante tried his hardest. I tried my hardest to give you some cool stuff, but it's some great nuggets in there. And the stuff we're talking about, it might seem a little bit foreign. It might seem a little bit different than anything you've heard from other gurus or, people out there spending a bunch of money to teach people how to flip houses. It isn't really that, right? This isn't a guru system. This is just what we do in our business, right? It's what I'm doing every single day that's working. These systems are created through pain, suffering, headache, constant just belief that it could be better. And eventually, with a lot of time, energy, testing, and consistency, we're able to fix it. And we're still working on it, by the way. Every day, we still got to keep improving these systems and keeping them up to date so we can keep that competitive edge and be able to make quite a bit of money flipping and it just be a business worth owning, right? I mean, when we didn't have this right with the contractors, my business was like, it was pretty brutal. I look back and I wonder how I did it sometimes. Maybe I was tougher when I was younger, but I have to say it was pretty hard. I mean, it was stressful. It was hard. It was inconsistent. And maybe I'm just too stubborn to give up. I don't know, but I can tell you now that it's been awesome. I'm glad I don't have to go back to that. Yeah, some good stuff for the day. Thanks, Delante. I appreciate it. If anyone listening, you want to learn more about the cracking the contractor code, the different systems we're using, how we're hiring great contractors, managing their time, getting them done quickly and on budget without a lot of stress, we got a great training on our website. You can go to theflipfactor.net, and at theflipfactor.net, you'll see a little link. It takes you to a free training, and you can jump in. It's about an hour and a half long, and I really just do a deep dive if you want to get more information. Also, if you love listening to these podcasts, we have other ones coming up on this topic of construction. It's one of the biggest areas that house flippers are losing money right now. So I'm so glad to be able to speak about it and really share some of the reasons we're having success and the students are doing so well. Appreciate you guys listening. So as usual, we know you have a lot of options out there. I deeply appreciate you taking your time to spend with me and Delante, and I hope you've gotten some great value from this. I'm Michael Green. My work is done. Yours has just begun. Stay awesome, everyone. See you, Delante, and thank you for coming on.